Radagon is one of the most important characters in Elden Ring. He loves the Golden Order. He loves the Erdtree. And yet inside of Nightreign, Radagon's name is never once whispered. But just because his name isn't said, doesn't mean his presence isn't felt. Radagon has a lot more importance to Nightreign, and that is the topic of today's video. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe right now as that's really silly, but if at the end of the video, once you've watched everything, you do enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribe as it helps the channel against the evil YouTube algorithm overlords. Without any further diddling, please sit back, relax, grab some succulent, juicy, tender and sensational prawns if you want, and enjoy. Inside of Hollister's relic, there's a line where it talks about how before he became the Night Lord, he faced an army, a warrior, a hero. This hero defeated and left piles of bodies. He was one of them before he rose up and became the Knight. The important part here isn't that Hollister got defeated and joined the piles of bodies. No, it's the hero. At the end of Recluse's quest line, there's a baby. This baby is Hollister, and it looks like a silver tear. It also has the colouring of the Nox. Hollister is a Night Lord that brings about the night. A Night Lord, or a Lord of Night as it says in base game, is something the Nox want. The fact Hollister exists and those 2 points makes me believe Hollister is fighting on the side of the Nox. The Nox are in direct opposition to the Golden Order. And in this timeline it's most likely that the Nox were fighting against the Golden Order. In base game Elden Ring, the shattering was horrible, don't get me wrong, but all the battles were between the demigods. Inside of Nightreign's timeline, another faction seems to be added in, the Nox. Inside of the Nightreign opening cinematic, we can hear the Elden Ring shatter. That means that Radagon did not succeed in stopping Marika from destroying the Elden Ring, meaning the Elden Ring is shattered. Even considering this, if the demigods die and the Nox take over, any hope of the Golden Order being restored is lost. And the Golden Order is what Radagon loves most. Most item descriptions regarding him talk about his devotion to said order, so if there was one thing that would lead him away from Marika's prison, it would be this. It would be the Nox. And I believe that leads up perfectly to the battle we hear about inside of Nightreign. Radagon inside of base game is never called a hero, just champion. And yet the definition of hero states, a person who is admired for their courage, outstanding achievement, or noble qualities. With the modern day definition of mighty hero saving people, he doesn't fit it. But in the proper definition, what I've just said, he definitely does. Radagon is also a storied war hero, Liurnia being a great example. He is called the Leal Hound of the Golden Order. Of course he'd be the one to lead the charge against the Nox, the ones they had banished underground so long ago. If you need further proof that Radagon was this hero, then look no further than Gladius. Inside the opening cutscene for Nightreign, Hollister can be seen standing inside of an eye. The colour palette around the eye is his, that of the rain. And yet in the middle is Gladius's colour palette, red. People are consumed by the night. A great example of this is in Wilder's questline. His great rival was consumed by the night. It's very much hinted, and as such we put him down. A lot of the Night Lords came here out of curiosity, but were then consumed. I do not believe the same occurred with Gladius. Gladius was a mutated pup with a strong will that once it was kicked out, it found a sword. The sword just so happened to be in the hands of a man. The dog would not let go, and so Gladius obtained a new sword, and by proxy, a new master, a new friend who he has stuck by since that time. Gladius uses this sword inside of his boss fight, and upon the sword is Radagon's great rune. This is all without mentioning Radagon has raised multiple red wolves, which move and attack exactly like Gladius. Considering the presence of Radagon's great rune, it's not too far-fetched to think that Gladius was with Radagon when this fight occurred. Radagon and Gladius slaughtered his friends, his family, people he wanted to protect and yet couldn't. Although Hollister wakes up at night, it's most likely it wasn't days. It was probably just a few hours and it's night now. This means Radagon, his army, and most likely Gladius are still close by, making them easy targets. Gladius is the first Night Lord. He is the first Night Lord you can fight. Have you ever wondered why that was? I believe Gladius was the first Night Lord that was created, and I believe it makes perfect sense considering the circumstances. And the fact that in the opening cutscene we can see Hollister standing in an eye with Gladius's colour palette, and that being one of the first things we see of Hollister. If Gladius was consumed by the night and became a Night Lord, it makes only fitting that Radagon would also be consumed. But where on earth is he? And the answer to that, in my opinion, is the DLC. We know we are getting multiple new bosses, multiple new Nightfarers, but what along those lines are those Nightfarers actually going to be? Who are the bosses going to be? Radagon wields Marika's hammer. It's a homage to the fact that Radagon is Marika, and yet we haven't seen Radagon actually fight with something he's more accustomed to, a sword. I would really like to see a Prime Radagon, and I believe that is what will occur inside the DLC. In my opinion, there is too much hinting at the connection to Radagon with the Night Lords. Them not using all those connections inside the DLC makes no sense. Another connection to Radagon is Fulgor. If you look at Fulgor's sword, also has Radagon's cross-stitch pattern upon it. Going back onto Gladius, Gladius's item description talks about how the person who gave him the sword he has stuck by ever since, and yet Gladius is by himself. Each one of the Night Lords is connected by Hollister. In Hollister's boss fight, he uses the power of every single Night Lord inside of Nightreign. If Radagon was consumed, Hollister is going to hold a bit of power from Radagon, meaning that although Gladius isn't actually standing right next to Radagon, he does hold a bit of him. He does feel him in a sort of power linking sense. Please don't flame me for power linking sense, there's really no better way to describe this. I can already hear you saying, oh well, if this is the case, if Hollister can use all the powers of the Night Lords, why aren't the DLCs included? The most likely answer to that is the fact they are being used, we just don't know yet. For example, Fulgor uses Holy. Considering this, Hollister also uses Holy. But Radagon inside his boss fight in base game Elden Ring also uses Holy. Meaning although we are contributing this Holy inside the final boss fight to Fulgor, it very well could be a combination of Fulgor's powers and Radagon's. The same could be said for the other Night Lords we'll get inside the DLC. Sadly everyone, that is the end of the video. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribe as it greatly helps the channel. And it lets me know you're enjoying this style of content. I know this was a bit of a shorter one, only 8 minutes when the videos are normally 12 to 15. But I didn't want to drag this out. I feel like I've put enough information in and I want to leave it at this. I'm not going to dilly-dally anymore. Please friends, don't you dare go hollow. And may you find your worth in the waking world. See you on the next one, and goodbye.